We hear a lot of talk today about news junkies and how people feel about the 200 national talk show hosts who have been created by corporate America. And do the alphabet soup networks really tell us the truth? Well, there's a lot of other questions we can ask about whether or not we're truly an informed person. Most people, when they tune across the AM and FM, and I listen to shortwave, being a ham operator and a shortwave listener and former shortwave broadcaster, and I find that most people don't really have a great deal of breadth in regards to their listening or viewing habits. Now, some of this is due to time constraints. Some of this is due to we like to listen to our favorite station. And most people don't know in North America at 530 kilohertz at the bottom of the AM dial is an extremely powerful station from Cuba that plays old American and Latin favorites in an easy music listening genre. We can hear that station clear up here in Idaho. Most people don't know and don't care that Japanese language programs with English translations have been heard in North America on 747 kilohertz, just below 750 kilohertz from Osaka, Japan, with a 500,000 watt transmitter. There's a lot more to the radio spectrum than most of us care to deal with or listen to. Yet we like to say, well, I heard Rush Limbaugh say the other day, and I agree with him, and therefore that makes me an informed person. No, it means you're quoting Rush Limbaugh, whether he's right or whether he's wrong. Some people listen to only the liberal side of the news, and they don't feel that you should ever listen to Jane Metzler or Jenna Lee on Fox. And I say, well, why not? I like the Foxes on Fox, and I may not feel that that is the most comprehensive news that you can actually listen to, but they are the best at on-the-spot reporting because of all of their affiliates across the globe. Now, CNN many years ago with Jill Dording actually used to do a half-hour round-the-world report, and it was marvelous. They had to dumb it down because of MSNBC and the Fox News Channel running away with the ratings, and of course with a little bit of Murdoch's money, no doubt, to help clinch the deal. But nevertheless, news has become a commodity. It has become entertainment. Education is indeed, as far as the for-profit schools are concerned, are headed down the same venue. And we see softer courses done all the time online just to get you in the system and out of the system 18 months later with a degree and a new profession possible. And yet what has happened to the honor in achieving a level of education, whether it's vocational, professional, or academic? So where are we in this hodgepodge of information? And what do we consider credible? Shortwave, with its 7,000 frequencies beyond the AM and FM band spectrum offers the listener, even today, with a whole cathedral of radio stations that will give you religious programs that you've never heard of before. You can listen to radio stations from Cuba, broadcasting with 300,000 watts to America, and hear things about the CIA that never have darkened the door of the American news media, and hear about aircraft that have been shot down over Latin America that you would never hear in an American newscast. Also, Al Jazeera on the cable news network channels has bought into a larger slice of the North American market. Al Jazeera, if you want the Middle East coverage, will generally do the best job. Now, we used to think, oh, they're just pro-Al-Qaeda, because that's what the Western media actually wanted you to believe. But actually, as far as the Middle East coverage is concerned, there's no one quite as thorough. You'll hear some taint against America when they say things like, well, America's weird electoral system. Well, I agree. Our electoral system is not very fair or efficient with our corporate-held elections, but nevertheless, when people throw in, well, terms like weird and others, well, it's definitely slanted in such a way as to lead you to believe that there's something wrong with it without them actually saying so. So when you listen to foreign newscasts, know a little bit about the source in which you are listening. But almost anyone does a better job when it comes to journalism than the American alphabet soup networks do. Now, what about journals? U.S. News and World Report is a populist-based type of journal, and it's based upon reports from Wall Street and, what's generally making the news. Now, they had a professional level that went beyond the popular level many years ago that you could buy for more in-depth reporting. But you can go down to newspaper offices where bookstores, have newspapers and periodicals and journals, or you could read them online and order your specialty-based publications and get some people who really know the field and who can give you the inside scoop, so to speak. Many times, we don't know who the experts are inside of a given field. It helps to learn who the major voices are and what they represent. Here's a for instance. The Heritage Foundation is generally thought of as a conservative think tank, and it generally is. It was funded to promote the conservative agenda. What about America's corporate media? In 1950, we had 75 different media companies at the time of the formation of CBS, NBC, ABC television were created. Now, they had been networks on radio since the 1920s. And from about 1925 on, Westinghouse and many other corporate networks established clear channel frequencies on the AM band, where you were given a section of the country, and in 12 cases, 50,000 watt stations had rights to those particular frequencies, and some of them were the only station allowed to broadcast on that frequency at night when the sky waves would bounce across and be refracted from the ionosphere. So you could cover North America and 5 or 6 other nations who are in the Caribbean and the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and beyond Mexico, with certain conditions prevailing. Now, people didn't know it, but Westinghouse and many other corporations set up the clear channel system. So they'd have clear channels in Mexico, clear channels in Canada, clear channels in the U.S. Now, since that time, clear channels have been abandoned for more regional radio so that the corporations could just step in. During the Reagan administration, they began to deregulate the clear channels, so you no longer had those safeguards, even from a corporate perspective. Reagan felt it would bring competition back to the 1934 agreement, but with the advent of the new technologies and the breaking up of the phone companies, which AT&T still kept the phone lines, by the way, something new had to be drawn up. So a more corporate model was designed, and Clinton pushed this even forward further in 1992, where Fox News and others could have uninhibited access to the American airwaves that were supposed to go to the American people, but they were auctioned off to the corporate highest bidder. Will this ever be repealed? Not anytime soon, but it is something we need to stay abreast of. So the best we can do for now is listen to Link Television and contrast that with Fox from the liberal side of the spectrum. Listen to NPR, and Elizabeth Arnold and other people bring you definitely a step up above the commercial, news media, and they're on the moment short newscast, because NPR does have a little more time, to devote to these broadcasts. Listen to the Voice of America news feed, the BBC, and any other religious broadcaster like CBN. They do a great job if you just follow the news, and so does Global Catholic Radio when they play Radio Vatican. So there still are voices out there that you should pay attention to, but just be careful and understand that we have lost local representation in small town media, has all but disappeared, and we have so few dissenting voices that it's far easier to propagandize people into hating minorities, going into foreign wars, or shaping public opinion. So we will not come up with a proper immigration bill, or just to accept lower wages without listening to the true economic picture. That is the challenge to us all. This is Father Tom Roberts saying thanks for listening, and be careful what you listen to, and believe all of what you see and half of what you hear. Good listening.